Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's in a nice Air BuB in northern Cambridge with an insanely good collection of French literature in French. I guess it just follows me around even when I'm on vacation. I'm going to be reviewing the album by IDK, USEE4YOURSELF. And I wasn't initially going to review this because I've never heard USEE3YOURSELF. That's a joke that I wrote for this show, but it's not really a joke because the idea behind it is that I've never listened to IDK before. He has a pretty good back catalog. I've listened to some of it now, but this was totally new to me. And so it's kind of fun to listen to somebody who so clearly makes the kind of rap music that I like in the style that I like that I somehow completely missed. Interestingly, he's from Bowie, Maryland, which is where Biz Markie died. And I don't really understand how that happened, that my memorial video and then the next video both occur in the same mid-Atlantic city, which is not even really well known, but there you go. One thing I definitely appreciate about IDK is his name, which he claims stands for Ignorantly Delivering Knowledge. And I would say that that is part of this channel. That is what I try to do, even though, I'm Mr. Smarty Pants who can read all these books back here. This show plays with my ignorance. Like what do I not know? Like I don't know about IDK. So I can share that with you as I'm learning something, and then we can kind of have like a sharing of knowledge together. Upon first listen to IDK, the thing, I don't know if everybody hears this, but I just hear Kanye so strongly in his rapping style, with one exception. He's a very, very good rapper. As most people on this channel know, Kanye, I think Kanye is greater than Kanye thinks Kanye is great. Okay, that's how big of a Kanye fan I am. But part of what I like about Kanye is that he's not actually great at any of the things he does, besides all of it together. And as a rapper, he doesn't always have like the great lines or the great flow. He isn't always capable of switching up his flow in a way that works. But IDK is able to do this. Like his cadence is so great. He has all these awesome lines that just make you say, damn, like punchline lines. But it's a lot stronger, I think, than his source of inspiration. There's also a richness in the way he plays with language. Like he'll often cut off a line and then go into the next thing. Like he'll sort of play with language, and he seems to be more at ease with rapping. Now Kanye is a specter, kind of like Fisherman McGee back there. Kanye is a specter that looms over this entire album and this entire project. The attitude that he has. Hey, I'm a jerk, but I told you I'm a jerk, so it's okay. The quality of the production, the way that guest appearances come in, featurings come in, you don't quite know where they're going. The ambition, the scope, it's interesting. And as the album goes through, you'll hear me reference this specter again. It is an amazingly cohesive album, song to song. It's not just a collection of singles. It really feels like it's all connected, and it is all sort of one big idea. The issue is, what is it actually about? This is where I had a little bit of trouble. This is where it took me a while to figure out how am I going to approach this album. Because in some ways, it's about the truth, you see for yourself, like figuring out what is true, not just what people say, but what is actually true. But then so much of this album is about women being bad. Just superficial, money-hungry, disposable, replaceable. In that way, I think this album suffers from what I call Danny Brown syndrome, where it's like a great rapper that I want to love, but I just can't get through it. That said, this video is going to be a little bit of an inquiry to see if that's true. Because there's another side to the album which goes way beyond that superficial misogyny. It seems to be that he's actually diving deep into trying to figure out what makes him a bad person, in general, and in particular with women. I think there's a way to read this album as a positive album, as an album where he is exposing his ignorance through his knowledge of himself and making it a deeper study of this kind of misogyny, of this kind of anger, this kind of violence. And I think in the end, it doesn't actually suffer completely from the Danny Brown syndrome. But that's the question. I'll try to answer that by the end. Does this album save itself? Is it actually a positive album, or is it really this kind of negative album, just hoes do this and hoes do that, and I got money so I got hoes? According to the very brief research I did on IDK, he calls himself sub-trap, which is like suburban trap. I think that's a funny idea, but really, I think it's a lot more like emo, but not like the joke of emo, okay? Not Juice WRLD, not like, I cut myself, I drink cough syrup, you know, not stuff like that, right? Like deeper emotional truths. And emo music, for how much everyone can laugh at it, often gets to the darker side of the American family. And this album plays a lot in the darker side of the American family. So much rap music, sadly, necessarily, is about broken families or just ignores families altogether. At the heart of this album is a disappointing, emotionally stunted suburban family. In that way, it connects to me in a way that punk music does, more than a way that rap music does. There's just a ridiculous amount of guest appearances on here. I don't know how he got everybody. I was listening to this in the car with my son, and he goes, hey, this is actually good. I'm like, yeah, who is this? And I'm like, I say IDK. He's like, oh. And he's like, wait, that's Young Thug. Yeah, there's also a song with MF Doom. What? There's also a song with, West Side Gun. What? This guy's for real. He is for real. So let me give you an example of the brilliance of this album. Really my favorite song on this album, 1995. Now, musically, this song is bonkers. Rap music is based on beats. I mean, rap music calls all of its music a beat, right? If you have something that has keyboards and drums and bass and guitar and whatever and triangles, you call the whole ensemble a beat. This song, the beat, has no drums for most of it. Kind of like xylophone, jazzy, cool, relaxed organ, at times weird sort of gospel sounds in the back. And it sets this really creative and emotionally harrowing backdrop for this song. And this is the songs towards the end of the album that shows that this superficiality itself is superficial. Did I just say superficiality? I must be in New England. I'm trying to sound all fancy. City Romaniecki sings a lot on this song. He's sort of a Ty Dolla $ign style singer, and by that I mean I love it whenever he sings. Kind of opens up the song, and then we get to this chorus. And the chorus, when I first heard it, it's just so stupid. 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5. Touch me, I'ma shoot 'em alive. I don't know. I'ma shoot 'em like Jordan. It just says that over and over again. And it's weird because it's such a dumb chorus. Like, if anybody touches me, I'm going to shoot them. But it gets a little bit better than that. First of all, he says 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, and says I'm going to shoot him like Jordan. And it's interesting because the song's called 1995, and when Jordan came back to the NBA in 1995, that was when he wore the number 45. So it's already, just as far as like a dumb, violent chorus about shooting you with a 45 pistol, right? 45 caliber pistol. He's actually sort of making this double play with like shoot and 45 on Jordan's back. But as we will come to see, this chorus is fake. It is a joke. It is like the soul of Fisherman McGee back there. If he comes to life, by the way, please let me know and warn me. Thank you. So the verses start off with him saying, "No hello from mama." Like I said, this is an album which is sort of about his family and sort of about hoes, and about him right in the middle. 17 years of mama coming home, no hug, no love, no kiss, not even a hello. So just right off the bat, okay? Right? Do you see how this is emotional in a different style? I mean, a lot of people can relate to emotionally distant parents, hopefully not my children. A lot of people can relate to that, but it's not that kind of maudlin emo sense of like, what am I going to do and all this. It's very specific. Not even a hello, just did you wash the dishes, did you fold my clothes? So all of a sudden, whatever image we have of a young African-American man who's rapping and talking about shooting you is kind of exploded, right? Like whatever image we have isn't the image of a kid whose oppression was sitting at home folding and washing clothes. So this emotionally distant mother shows up, and then as it goes on, he says, I would have thought it was normal if I didn't watch TV. I'm seeing white people eating with their families happily. I'm not going to, but I could do an entire video about this theme, about how television creates the romantic image of a family that is extremely, extremely hurtful to the majority of American children in the country. The images of the American family are all married, middle to upper class, and they eat together and they're happy and they're happy and they're happy, and that's how. Now, you're happy by being married, middle class, and you're not happy by not being those things. I remember when I went through my divorce, this was a big problem because my kids not only saw that their friends' parents were married, but on TV, the message was just constant and just never ending. These happily married nuclear families. But it's not just that. It's not just like, oh, I wish it was good. It goes further. I never saw my stepfather kiss my mama. Not once. That's for real. What the hell? So the chorus is, I'm gonna shoot you like 45, and another goddamn Michael Jordan metaphor in the year of The Last Dance, where everybody on planet Earth watched The Last Dance, and every rapper, without exception, had to make at least one Scottie Pippen, Phil Jackson, Dennis Rodman, Michael Jordan metaphor. In the middle of this kind of stupid chorus, here we had this idea. I never saw my stepfather kiss my mama. Like, what the hell? Excuse me. I mean, all the books in this wonderful Air BuB are actually like French literature from the 19th century. I don't know how I got so lucky. But if there was any, like, psychology books back there, they would tell you this is a very interesting detail that he goes into. I never saw my stepfather kiss my mama. It's one thing to never see your father kiss your mother. Like there's a sense of your parents when they're not, when they were married before you were born, of like sort of a lack of choice, right? Just like they're together and so they're always together. And it's not that uncommon, I think, to not see your parents kiss or not have a lot of memories of that. But not seeing your stepfather kiss your mama, this is weird. And we're going to come back to that. We're going to come back to this stepfather guy. We ain't need no AC, the household was so cold, I'm getting chills. What's love? IDK, I don't know. This idea of not needing air conditioning reminds me a lot of one of my favorite comedians from Boston, Dana Gould, who wrote once, the Gould family crest is 3 lions on a couch not making eye contact, underneath a banner that reads, death before intimacy. The idea of a family that is devoid of intimacy or love or care is the center of this song. This is what I'm talking about. This is the unlocking. This is the, okay. So he's laying himself bare, and we understand that the stupidity of the chorus, the anger and the brutality of the chorus comes from this upbringing. The second chorus goes even further. Have you ever been to an immigrant's home where the straight A's being a doctor all they know? Because when they come from struggle, work to get a house, and now they're working double, can't even enjoy it. They're looking for you to be the one to graduate and bring the joy up. But if you was me, then you would be the one to make them need a lawyer. So the guilt of being an immigrant child who fails their parents, who works so hard to be there, all of these questions coming in. He just throws this in. Listen, I don't know IDK's, please tell me if you know IDK's discography, because I don't. Does he go into this more in detail? Because this is great. I mean, I study a lot of rap music that is made by immigrants because I study French rap. But it's a very, very strong sense of disappointment and frustration that he feels in himself. And it helps to contextualize this anger, and it helps to humanize this monstrous mother who doesn't even say hello, because she's struggling to make money. It's amazing. Sorry, the Air BuB is making some weird noise. I don't know what it is. I can't help it. It's not my home. Oh, true story. My dad calls Air BuBs Air BuB. Just funny. Just if you want to make your life better, call them Air BuBs. Then there's sort of an outro And at a certain point, some drums do come in, and the guy starts singing, and like there is so much movement to the song, and that's what we see throughout most of the album. There's just this movement that comes along and grows, and it doesn't just start in one place and end in another place, and we do have drums, and we can move around a little bit. So that's my homework. That was my example song that I think you should listen to. No Snoopy today. I'm going to go through the rest of the album, not too quickly, because it's a very dense and rich album that I very much enjoy thinking about. The opening song is a phone number that I'm not going to read. It has like bird sounds and someone going do, kind of singing. Unexpected opening. We have kind of, sounds like IDK running and panting, which reminds me of the middle section of I Am a God by Kanye. And then this weird quote from a comedian saying that men show love through sacrifice. I don't know how this fits into the rest of the album. We then get to Santa Monica Boulevard, which was co-produced by IDK. I think he's a producer on some of these and not on all of them. Again, kind of showing his strength as someone who does multiple things, not just rap. It's a cool kind of trap beat with this fuzzy bass. Puts me very much in the area of kind of the Yeezus era of Kanye. Again, like he's talking about how he's a jerk. Like when I say I'm drunk, you know I'm immigrant, I'm ignorant, I'm at a house party acting belligerent. And he talks about like asking for forgiveness from God, but then crossing his fingers behind his back. Really this constant concept of just being a jerk and being understanding with it and trying to not excuse it, but just say, I told you I'm a jerk, that's who I am. I like in here, he has a lot of very clever lines here. So I'm gonna quote some lines from this song to show that part that just says, damn, the punchlines. I get paid when I pass a bar, got no love for the law. So he's talking about passing the bar, you know, which is how you become a lawyer, that big test. I assume that's what I see on TV. But then also like passing a bar as in like whenever he says a rhyme, right? Now I got gophers effing up my lawn. Just a funny line, right? Like this is the way to show that you've made it. Like the way you could show you make it is if you get annoyed at the gophers. It says, that's as annoying. I'm picking my poison. You crabs in the barrel. While my lobster is boiling. Beautiful, just seafood analogies. You know, I guess he is really from the mid-Atlantic if he's talking about crabs, because, you know, everyone in Maryland loves crabs apparently. But the lobster and the crabs and like they are crabs in a barrel and he, you know, and he is eating lobster. It's a beautiful image of like that flexing on your richness while other people aren't there. And then just a funny line, Matador, I ain't run from beef. That's just funny. Just, you know, like these clever punchlines that somehow no one else has thought up. Dogs Don't Lie is a super awesome drum beat. Just so, this weird drum line and weird vocalization in the back. Like Mike Tyson makes an appearance in the beginning. He starts off with like the most Kanye-esque lyric I've ever heard. My only vice is not taking advice. Like, I actually have to think, I have to look up on Genius if that's already a Kanye line, because that's such a Kanye-style line. He talks again, you know, so this is where we really start with these themes of women, you know, she'll bend that ass, she'll say yes if it's a Maybach, women spinning wheels to buy their vows, Pat Sajak. Now, that's cool because he's doing Wheel of Fortune references, which is kind of a weird reference, but it's just going on and on, just talking about how women will do anything for money, but then he ends it with an interesting way of saying, we live in life like we swiping on a date app. And yeah, I think here, we're, you know, obviously the influence of dating apps is wonderful and terrible, and this is kind of talking about that. I really like here how he repeats the word business, you know, his business, but he says it, you know, in that way, and just like this word just over and over again about his problems is his business and this, and then and it creates like the pronunciation of business as business, because it creates a consonant a hard consonant where there's a soft consonant. It's actually a much more interesting word in a rhyme scheme, like in a rap line. The second verse is all about being hated on the internet, and this feels like that verse on the Tyler, the Creator album, where he just like goes off about people getting mad at him on blogs. Hey, IDK and Taylor and Tyler, would you watch my videos? Because I just talk about you guys for like so long and how good you are. You can just ignore all those dudes on their lunch breaks. They was friends until they turned to a foe, like Five Fum. Just more funny, cool line. And the whole idea is interesting, that dogs don't lie. You know, men lie, women lie, and dogs don't lie. I wish I were back home. I would have Bo and Toby, and I would see if they lie. Because dogs do lie. They do. They will look at you, and if my wife has fed the dogs and I come down after, they look at me like, that's their tail. Oh, Bo just had his tail cut off, so his is like this. Hey, we haven't eaten yet. Can you get us some food? Dogs lie. But anyway, I get the point. Moves on with Truth, which is kind of an interstitial song that builds to the continuity of the album about truth, which is in theory the subject of the album. I don't think it's really about truth. I think it's about his truth, which actually makes sense because even on the song he says, I'm just a that live in my truth. This leads right into Pradada Bang, definitely the low point on the album for me. That's a cool beat, nice little weird details. It's like a lot of trap beats on here, but they're never just boring. They're always made better by something else. Vocals in the back and intertwining synthesizers. Young Thug opens up. He's fine, just talking about his stuff. IDK has a nice thing where he says, everybody lying like True That. I like that idea of just putting together lying and True That together. Young Thug has maybe the weirdest line in hip-hop so far this year. I just turned her body plastic. Now she looking like a silhouette. Ba-ba! The hell is... I get what it means. He's paying for plastic surgery. But the grad student in me who would be happy in this Air BuB, I just gotta tell you, I just turned her body plastic, now she looking like a silhouette. Like the idea is that you want the woman that you're with to look like a silhouette. You can't hug a silhouette. You can't smash a silhouette. Damn it, I need merch. You can't smash a silhouette would be a great t-shirt. Anyways, you can't, so it's just this weird thing. But then it ends with, that you need Prada to bang. And it's just kind of like, okay, we get it. Women like money. The women that you're with like money. They're totally interchangeable, we get it. Then we get Shoot My Shot, which is a beautiful beat. Again, Yeezus-like, kind of like Send It Up, and even mentions I'm like Yeezy, when I see it, I'm gonna hit it on sight. But then the whole song is about ejaculation. Like there's sometimes when rappers talk about sex where I'm like, okay, I get it, we all have sex, it's great to talk about. But then sometimes they just go into detail that's like, I don't really need to think this much about your ejaculation process. Still though, he does that neat thing where he cuts off lines, Kendrick Lamar saying everything's gonna be all, and then the chorus jumps in. And it's a very catchy, nice, danceable chorus. Shoot my shot, then I check the ballistics. Very cool. Nice stutter step in the chorus. Reminds me a little bit of Nobody Beats the Biz by his Bowie neighbor. Offset is on here. And as always, what do I say about the Migos? They're fine. It's a fine Migos Offset verse. It's not the worst. It's not, when people say you either love it or hate it, I usually am somewhere in the middle. And it's fine. And then the last IDK verse is probably his most misogynist, where he talks about how replaceable women are, thereby completely removing them of any agency or personality whatsoever. Then we get to the song Red. Okay, some songs on this album you can only describe as maximalist. And it's fun because if you have a trap beat and a maximalist beat at the same time, it's fascinating because usually trap just means minimal. Right? Just octaves and fifths on a keyboard and the booming bass and the ricky ticky 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 hi-hat. But this song just goes everywhere. It starts off as like some cello and strings and someone singing ha 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 ha, and all the way throughout, like you hear this weird voice in the background. Again, the specter of Kanye looms high and heavy over the entire album. This kind of sample sounds like the kind of thing, like, did he do this on Kids See Ghost or something kind of like this? That song with Louis Prima, a little bit, but still. A beautiful opening verse from West Side Gun. I mean, not beautiful. I overused that word. A West Side Gun verse from West Side Gun with better rhymes than usual. I think he upped his game on here. But he's always great as a guest appearance, the drrrr and all that stuff. IDK is a little bit more subtle here. He does more singing than rapping. And as we see, the rapping is going to start fading away as the singing comes in. The bass gets super hard. It's just more misogynistic lines. She want a 5-star meal. It comes with head. That's a 5-star deal. I'd rather be stung by bees than be effing with the birds. I don't know. But again, later in the album, he's going to explain his relationship to his mother. And I think that's intentional. I think we are supposed to connect these things together. That his terribleness with women is partly from his disappointment with his mother. The pre-chorus has Mike Jones. Mike Jones. Who is Mike Jones? He's back. Well, I don't know why he didn't actually take off. He was pretty good. And then the chorus is sung and it's fine. And then the post-chorus is MF Doom. And a weird thing happens when rappers die. And this, I think, mainly just happens with rappers. Or anybody who's recorded anything with them ever, like, has the rights to any of their stuff, just kind of cuts it and puts it in a song and then acts like they're featuring him. It just sounds like it was something recorded a long time ago and just put in here, but that's fine. Jay Electronica comes on, and I love Jay Electronica, but his verse is dedicated to being an anti-vaxxer. So, I love Jay Electronica as a producer, as a rapper, as a force in hip hop. But his takes on being, anti-vaxxer, not a big fan of that. It's interesting. I went to New York last week, or a couple weeks ago. I've been on a lot of vacations, a lot of Air BuBs. And whenever I go, I listen to Hot 97. And I don't just listen to the music to see what's going to be the hot new rap songs throughout the country. I listen for the advertisements, because you can often tell a lot about the sort of state of America by the commercials on Hot 97. And like 3/4 of the commercials were trying to get people of color vaccinated. I'm not trying to be too specific here, but the commercials would feature people whose voices and whose experiences and were telling stories. And it seems as though, this is, obviously the long history of the American government poisoning people of color against their will. That's understandable. There's this reluctance to trust. But it's interesting that it wasn't commercials for Summer Jam or for get a car with no credit, or if you have bad credit, let me fix it, which is what it usually is. It was mostly about it was about pro-vaxxing. So Jay Electronica is not helping. Jelly is just a weird interstitial song about getting someone jealous. Not great. Puerto Rico, it's just a totally sung song. It's like an R&B thing. I'm just going to kind of skip it, although it does reference an unreleased Radiohead song. So IDK is definitely a very... the media that he consumes is not the typical media that rap artists consume, right? Like, he's not talking about the same sort of 20 to 50 references that we might get. Like, he's actually making a very specific Radiohead reference. But it's nicely produced. And you know how I say this album has the specter of Kanye. Kanye couldn't do this. Kanye can't sing like this. Kanye couldn't create a song like this. Temporary Love is another interstitial song about whether or not women behave the way they do because they're looking for a replacement father figure. Hey IDK, why is this song on here? Are you being either weirdly blind or wicked smart? Like, because if we follow this metaphor, then obviously, women who are looking for men as a father figure, then men are looking for a replacement of a woman figure. Therefore, you're looking for a replacement who would be cold and treat you poorly. Is that what you're doing, IDK? I don't know how much to trust you as an artist because I don't know your music well enough. I don't know if you're that smart to do something that makes you seem so lacking self-awareness at such a level. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt because the rest of the album is so smart and say that's what you're doing here. You're bringing up this question to make us, on some level, question whether or not the entire time all of your terrible lyrics about if she gives me head, it's a square deal and all that crap is about this idea that you're looking for a mother figure. The point I just made is immediately undercut by the next song, 10 Feet. Which is a song about a stripper pole, which I guess is 10 feet. I haven't been to a lot of strip clubs in my life, and when I go, I'm very, very, very uncomfortable. I just try not to look. But then you try to look away, and then you see dudes, and like I don't want to see dudes looking at naked ladies. So then I look, and then can I go home? Anyways, it's a stripper song, a 10-foot pole, weird singing song. Like, it does actually have a woman singing on here, Mother Mary Gold, talking talking about going monkey on the dick, which I enjoy. This is a turn of phrase I will use probably for the rest of my life. Go monkey on the dick. That is a funny line. The refrain has got so much going on here, singing over and over again, and then T-Pain makes an appearance. I'm telling you, I think only Arca from last year has this capacity of like taking people who were relevant and mixing them with people who are relevant and just like leaving you just like mixed up and confused. Next song is Keto or Keto, and the Neptunes are back. Not just Pharrell Williams, but Pharrell Williams and the other guy in the Neptunes. God damn it, I should know his name. If I know Andrew Ridgeley is the other guy in Wham, I should know the other member of the Neptunes. Put it in the comments if you want to tell me. But you know, I love the Neptunes. I've loved the Neptunes from the first time I heard them on Jammin' 94.5 in Boston when I was driving around, back when I used to live here. I love their futuristic sound, and we have it come back. And it's just, I wrote a little extra note, so I printed out my notes at home in Rochester, and then I brought them down here. And I listened to the album again this morning, and I wrote this note right there. Super dance. That's my handwriting, by the way. Pretty good, hey? Super dance. This song is super dance. Like you're just bouncing, you're just so happy. Maybe it's a Mid-Atlantic connection, you know, because that's where the Neptunes are from as well. But it sounds like a house song, like a legitimate 90s house song. Builds nicely. Another chorus with City Romanicki, Sway. That's a song about hitting people? I don't know. Rico Nasty comes on. She's a female rapper, who's, I think, who's okay. And then it ends with a weird note. He might take my stepfather's life, implying he might take his stepfather's life. Now this leads right into 1995, the song I've already discussed. So, the two parts of the stepfather story are, I might kill my stepfather. Part 2, I never saw my stepfather kiss my mother. Okay, put a pin in that, because we have to talk about the song Peloton, which is another sing-song about a woman who sleeps with him because he's rich. The contempt is back. We were getting somewhere. We had 1995. We had these other songs. It seems like we're going somewhere, but this is like a weird incel type song. Just anger at women, just like, you know, she says she's not a maid. Well, then what if someone messes with you and I don't support you? Then I'm not security? How would you respond? A weird sort of like, you know, men do this, women do that. I don't know. I mean, it's a nice sample from the Stylistics, but it's really sad because it's in between 1995 and then Hey Auntie, which is this emotional core. Hey Auntie is a very deeply upsetting, deep song. Very gentle, nice thumping drum line, clapping and piano, and it opens up with this dream of a good life. So if we could just kick Peloton out of here. I don't know who produced the album like overall. Maybe it's IDK. It seems like he has a lot of control. Get Peloton out of there. Do a deluxe version. We just take Peloton out of there. Release it as a single. It's a fine song. But if we have 1995, where, hey, this is what my life was like, and then we have Hey Auntie, this is him saying what he wishes would happen. Mama cooking breakfast in the morning with a smile on her face. Good morning, baby. Dad reading a newspaper. Talk for 30 minutes. My lunch packed when I'm leaving. Lunchables to flex. I fist pump like yes. So he's literally describing a television scene. The commercials for Lunchables, which if you don't know, are prepackaged meals by Oscar Mayer and Kraft Foods, where they just have like a lunch of like crackers, cheese, and cookies. And it's not very good food nutritionally. It doesn't taste very good, but it is the ultimate status symbol for kids in elementary school because it's advertised all the time. And it's seen as the cool thing to have. So this little detail, I mean, you want to talk about subtrap, you want to talk about suburban life right here. He then immediately says, Capri Sun got me looking like I'm saying cheese because the smile is all they want from me. So he's drinking the Capri Sun from the Lunchables. He's got the Oreo, he's got the weird ham cheese, and Ritz cracker, and he's eating them, and like his life is fulfilled because he is like what he sees on the TV. Fun fact, I bought Lunchables for my kids once, but then just to piss everybody off, I just covered it over, like I wrote the words organic and free range on everything. I thought it was funny. I'm not sure it was. But it's a really, really interesting, strong verse to begin with. My self-esteem could make a emo, the hate could come from love, and baby, we know. Wait. Nope, I'm sorry. I jumped ahead to the next song. I don't edit the show unless I absolutely have to. So, like, unless Fisherman McGee comes after me, I'm not going to edit it. And so he keeps on with this imagined life. They don't care what I become or to be, as long as I'm living happily while living comfortably. He just talks about all these things that he's imagining. Love was in this movie, my mama, the one directing. Constantly comparing his life versus the life that he imagines from television. But instead, he gets broken toys and artificial joys. Okay. And then in the next verse, he talks about being molested. Okay. Now, it's a throwaway line. There's multiple ways of dealing with sexual trauma, and there's no right way, and I sure as hell am not saying that anyone should do it one way or another. But in general, people either never talk about it or talk about it in some great detail, right? That's in general what people do, except if the people haven't fully come to terms with it and what it means, in which case they'll let it slip out. Just like, yeah, like, wait, what? Because what they want is someone to seize on it and pull on that thread until it can be more discussed. So it seems to me that this album is fairly clearly explicit based on the breadcrumbs that are left here. He admits to being molested. He talks about wanting to kill his stepfather and how his stepfather would not kiss his mother. It seems like that's what it's about. So I apologize to IDK for all of my claims about superficiality, because it seems like something much, much deeper is happening here, where he's working through all these things. And again, the specter of Kanye, in a very good way, looms large. 808 and Heartbreak is such a strong album because he spends half of it talking about how great he is and half of it talking about how terrible he is. And then in the mixture, you understand that it's his pain that he's showing us and that you understand his pain. And that's why it's such a great album. This album, you feel the pain, even at some times where you don't like the person. Slick Rick ends with this nice imaginary story, the search for love. Slick Rick is back. It's nice hearing Slick Rick. Having Slick Rick and Young Thug on the same album, that is just beautiful. Then we get to the song Cry in Church. Okay, so at least we don't have a Peloton interrupting this nice end of the album, which I think contextualizes and justifies the weaker parts of the album. A great introduction by Seven Streeter, which is sung, sings the chorus as well, a weird kind of backwards sample. This song sort of reminds me of I Need Love by LL Cool J, except I don't hate this song like I hate I Need Love. It has that kind of 80s soft rap feeling. But then it talks about, I'd rather be a poor man with a little affection. Everyone want to feel special. And he just keeps talking about how he'd rather be happy than rich. It's weird that rappers don't rap about this more, because so many rappers are rich and miserable. Most people who are super rich are also super miserable. Little fact about American life that no one seems to care about and they don't pay attention to. Nobody watches the last act of Scarface, as I like to say. My self-esteem could make it emo, the hate could come from love, and baby, we know. So here he is, he's talking about it, he's making all these things which were somewhat implicit, explicit throughout the entire album, and he talks about crying in church. At different times in my life, I've gone to church a fair amount, and I will tell you, part of the reason why it's hard for me to go to church is I end up crying so much. And it's not because I love Jeebus, it's not, I do love Jeebus, but that's not why. It's the time that you have to check in with yourself and to feel things, and the quiet, especially after communion, like that quiet where you're sitting there and you feel this kind of like connection to other people, but then you're also alone, and then like your thoughts get so heavy. Whatever it is that's in, this is my experience, whatever's in your brain gets so heavy. But at the same time, you feel the spiritual connection and the salvation and all that, where you feel so light. And it's amazing. Mama ain't home, 5 years old, Blues Clues raised me, Cheerios saved me, porno stepfather hid is what changed me, He ain't do a good job, he was too lazy. Porno stepfather? Ugh. I wish you ain't had me at 19. I'd probably grow up better. I wish you'd talk to me nicely. I would probably love better. I wish you read to me every night. I would probably read more. Now, I'm not gonna cry on this video, but if I wanted to, I would think about this line. I wish you would talk to me nicely. I would probably love better. This is somebody who's in the process of becoming something more, someone who's growing and sharing their growth with us while also sharing their steps back. Wishing he had lullabies. He sings himself a lullaby after the sample from DMX, which is interesting, having DMX on here as well. It's a sample. He didn't do it for IDK. And then we have this closure of Mama's Gonna Buy You a Mockingbird, the lullaby. And on the final track, he explains himself, explains his mother's trouble, and forgives her, which I think leads to the conclusion that ultimately he's looking for forgiveness himself. So, that's the album. Thank you to all of you who suggested that I review it, that I would really like it, because you're right. It is an astoundingly good, astoundingly rich album that really challenged me. You know, it really challenged me because the Danny Brownness of it, the sort of feeling that it might be just another kind of angry, misogynist album. To overcome that was great. So also, I'm just, this is, I don't know how many videos I'm gonna do this week because I am on vacation with my wife. Kids are in camp. But I know, hopefully do at least one more this week. So, but these are my Patreons. These are the people who give me money, and then I take that money and I buy music. I don't just pocket the money. I give it to artists that I like. So anyways, that's all the people who helped out. So thank you so much. And of course, the Super LP Milos Spasojevic, who has also helped at the highest tier. Oh my gosh, I'm going on the second page now. I'm getting more patreons.com/Professor Sky. Okay, I know, smash the like bucket and like it and everything, like everything, and whatever. I don't care. All right, well, for myself and for Fisherman McGee, there's the camera.